Have you ever walked into a room and momentarily forgotten why you went there, only to brush it off as just getting older? Occasional slip-ups happen to everyone, whether you're 17 or 70, and it's easy to shrug off these minor lapses as normal aging. But what if you find yourself missing entire chunks of conversations, getting disoriented in familiar places, or feeling like your sense of time is out of sync with everyone else's? These are not the run-of-the-mill memory slips that come from a busy mind or a momentary lapse in concentration. They could be serious warning signs that your memory loss extends beyond what most would classify as normal aging. In this discussion, we'll look at 7 specific indicators that might signal something more urgent, something that calls for prompt attention rather than casual acceptance. By the end, you'll be better equipped to spot these red flags either in yourself or in someone you care about, and have a clearer sense of when it might be time to consult a professional. Early detection can significantly affect treatment options and quality of life. So let's explore how to recognize these signs before it becomes too late to act. To begin, let's clarify what normal aging tends to look like in terms of memory. Most older adults notice they take a bit longer to recall names or find the right word. Perhaps you walk into the kitchen to do something and it takes a second to remember exactly why you went in there. Or you might search your mind for a detail, like the title of a movie you watched years ago, and then spontaneously remember it a few moments later. These lapses, while frustrating, generally aren't catastrophic. They don't fundamentally disrupt your ability to live independently or navigate your everyday routines. Normal age forgetfulness is typically mild, predictable, and doesn't worsen dramatically in a short period. The key difference with memory issues that go beyond normal aging is that they start to interfere with your day-to-day life, your relationships, and your sense of identity. You might miss payments on bills you've always kept up with, struggle to follow familiar routes to the grocery store, or repeat the same questions despite having heard the answer multiple times. These patterns may intensify over a relatively short time frame, making everyday activities a source of stress rather than routine. Such shifts often indicate a deeper problem, something that might not just be senior moments, but rather an underlying condition like mild cognitive impairment, dementia, or other neurological issues that merit professional evaluation. One clear sign that your memory loss might not be normal is a growing difficulty in handling tasks you've always done with ease, such as managing finances. If you've prided yourself on being the family accountant, tracking every utility bill and reconciling bank statements, yet recently find yourself forgetting to pay accounts, mixing up due dates, or confusing different bills entirely, that's worth paying attention to. Occasional errors happen to everyone, but a pattern of consistent mistakes, like writing checks for incorrect amounts or forgetting to pay multiple bills in a short span, signals a potential decline in cognitive function. It becomes particularly worrisome if you also start having trouble following simple math, like calculating tips at restaurants or dividing household expenses. These slip-ups may reflect not just memory lapses, but also problems with your working memory and executive function, which are integral to everyday planning and organization. At first, you might blame it on the complexity of modern billing systems or your bank's online portal, but if this difficulty persists and grows worse, it's time to seek an opinion from a medical professional. Catching these changes early might allow for interventions that can slow progression, or at least offer support systems, so you don't incur financial harm or spiraling stress. Another indicator that your memory issues exceed normal age changes is becoming lost in places you've known for a long time. Let's say you're driving to a local pharmacy you've visited for decades, and suddenly don't recognize the intersection, forgetting whether to turn left or right. Or you go for your usual afternoon walk around the neighborhood, a route you could probably do with your eyes half closed, but find yourself momentarily disoriented, unsure of which street leads back home. We all get turned around occasionally, especially if we're distracted. But persistent episodes of disorientation in places that used to feel second nature can be a red flag. People experiencing more serious memory loss sometimes try to hide it by insisting they just took a new route or got stuck in traffic, rather than admitting confusion. But repeated navigation problems shouldn't be shrugged off, especially if they occur in tandem with missing familiar landmarks or forgetting how to read a map you've used many times before. Such signs often point to issues with spatial awareness and short-term memory, both of which can be compromised in the early stages of dementia. If you observe these changes in yourself or someone else, it might be prudent to reduce solo driving or traveling until a medical evaluation clarifies what's going on. Taking this precaution can prevent accidents and alleviate anxiety for both the individual and their family. A third sign to be alert for is an increase in repeating the same stories, questions, or statements, far beyond the occasional rehash of a favorite anecdote. If you find that you've just had a conversation about a particular topic, only to forget you had it and ask the same questions again minutes later, this could be an issue. Think about the scenario in which you ask a friend or family member, "When are you leaving for your trip?" and they answer clearly. Then, just 20 minutes later, you ask them the exact same question, having no recollection that you previously got the answer. Occasional repetition is normal, especially if it's a cherished story or memory. But a pattern of forgetting recent conversations repeatedly suggests more severe short-term memory deficits. This is often painful for close friends and family to watch, as they might go from gentle reminders, we just talked about that, remember, to frustration and concern about your cognitive well-being. People experiencing these memory lapses might not realize they're repeating themselves, or they might become defensive when it's pointed out. If this repetition is something you or others notice happening frequently, it's a strong clue that a deeper cognitive issue could be at play. A fourth sign that your memory loss might not be normal is if you find yourself struggling with simple language tasks, such as naming everyday objects or forming coherent sentences. This is different from the occasional tip of the tongue phenomenon. You might consistently forget the word for toaster or microwave, or find you're pausing frequently mid-sentence, losing the thread of what you were trying to say. Sometimes these difficulties manifest in writing as well, where you look at a word you just wrote and wonder if you spelled it correctly. Common words might seem foreign to you. Language and memory are intertwined, and when the brain struggles to retrieve or piece together basic vocabulary, it often signals changes in the left hemisphere or areas associated with language processing. People might notice you substituting the wrong word entirely, such as calling a watch a clock, or might see you mixing up words that have no logical connection. If this phenomenon becomes a pattern rather than an occasional slip, it can interfere not just with communication but also with reading comprehension, letter writing, and other daily tasks that rely on quick mental recall. This type of symptom often goes hand in hand with other memory problems, accelerating the difficulty of interacting socially or maintaining independence. Seeking a professional opinion is vital if these language slips grow frequent and start to hamper everyday life. A fifth sign is a noticeable shift in personality or mood that accompanies memory lapses. With normal aging, you might become more cautious or prefer quieter environments, but extreme personality changes like sudden aggression, paranoia, or severe apathy are more concerning. Perhaps you notice that in addition to forgetting appointments, you're suddenly distrusting neighbors you used to greet warmly, suspecting them of ill intent with no real reason. Or you've stopped caring about hobbies you loved for decades, which is different from mild disinterest. It's a profound withdrawal that friends find alarming. Emotional volatility can also occur. You might cycle between irritability and tearfulness in quick succession, with memory lapses seeming to fuel the emotional instability. These transformations can emerge when the underlying cause is more than just everyday forgetfulness. Dementia conditions can affect parts of the brain responsible for emotional regulation and social behavior, causing shifts that are often more troubling to family and friends than the memory problems themselves. If people around you remark that you're acting like a completely different person or that you're uncharacteristically moody, it might be time to connect these mood or personality shifts with potential cognitive decline. While depression or grief can mimic some of these symptoms, it's critical to investigate whether memory changes are also present, because that combination can point to conditions like Alzheimer's or other forms of dementia. A sixth sign to consider is having increasing difficulty in following instructions, especially with tasks that involve multiple steps, such as cooking a familiar recipe. You might start out preparing your usual chicken soup, but then realize you've forgotten which ingredient goes next, or have to reread the recipe several times for something you've made by heart for years. Or you might attempt to fix a simple household item, and find yourself repeatedly confused about which tool to use or in what order steps should happen. Even something like assembling a new piece of furniture with instructions can become overwhelming. Normal aging might slow your pace a bit, but it typically doesn't cause such a significant breakdown in your ability to sequence tasks you used to handle well. This issue arises because your working memory, attention span, and executive functions all collaborate to help you handle tasks that demand multiple steps. When they begin to degrade, even simple, routine actions can feel disjointed. It often goes beyond mere forgetfulness. You might stare at the instructions for a moment and feel an uncharacteristic sense of confusion or panic about how to proceed. Such a shift merits attention, particularly if it has been getting worse over a few months, not just a single off day. Finally, there's a seventh sign: trouble keeping track of time, place, or events in a manner that disrupts your sense of reality. Maybe you wake up and genuinely believe it's a different day or month, even after being corrected. Or you might recall attending an event that took place years ago as though it happened recently, mixing it up with current happenings. You could also have trouble recalling the current year or an upcoming holiday, mixing details that used to be second nature for you. Occasional confusion about the date is common. Lots of us misread calendars. But if you frequently lose track of the season or think you're in another location when you're still at home, that's more serious. These disorientations can cause embarrassment, leading some people to withdraw from social activities so they don't accidentally make glaring errors in conversation. In advanced cases, you might find yourself physically wandering because you become confused about where you intended to go. If left unaddressed, this confusion can present real safety risks, such as forgetting to turn off appliances or venturing outside at odd hours in disoriented states. Identifying and addressing these issues early can prevent more dangerous scenarios. Now that we've walked through these 7 signs, growing financial confusion, getting lost in familiar places, repeating questions or stories, forgetting everyday words, personality or mood changes alongside memory lapses, struggles with multi-step instructions, and disorientation about time or place, you can better distinguish between normal aging quirks and symptoms that may signal more serious cognitive decline. You don't need to panic over one isolated incident. However, if multiple signs crop up regularly and seem to be intensifying, it's wise to seek a professional evaluation. Early intervention can lead to medical treatments that slow progression or to lifestyle changes that help manage symptoms. Doctors may suggest memory exercises, therapy, or even nutritional adjustments that can make a real difference if implemented promptly. Some people resist seeing a doctor for fear of receiving a diagnosis like Alzheimer's or another dementia. It's understandable. Such news can be frightening. Yet ignoring these symptoms or hoping they'll vanish on their own can deprive you of the help and resources you need. In some cases, memory lapses might be linked to treatable conditions like vitamin deficiencies, thyroid issues, or medication side effects. Identifying that root cause can restore or significantly improve your cognitive function. And even if the underlying problem is a degenerative condition, early knowledge empowers you and your loved ones to plan ahead, implement beneficial therapies, and maintain as much independence and quality of life as possible. If you suspect a friend or family member is experiencing these types of memory issues, approach the topic compassionately. Let them know you're concerned because you love them, not because you're trying to point out their flaws. Emphasize that seeking medical advice isn't about labeling them or restricting them, but about opening doors to assistance that can preserve their well-being. Sometimes individuals in the early stages of cognitive decline feel deeply ashamed of their forgetfulness, so they deny or conceal it. Your gentle support can make it less threatening for them to seek professional guidance. Encourage them that even if the news is difficult, many people continue to lead meaningful lives through the early and middle stages of dementia when they have the right support and interventions in place. If you recognize these signs in yourself, try not to let fear paralyze you. Write down your concerns and look for a reputable doctor or specialist in geriatrics or neurology. Keep a short journal of noticeable lapses or confusions. This can help your physician understand the frequency and nature of the problems more accurately. Also, consider sharing your experiences with a trusted friend or relative who can accompany you to appointments. as a second pair of eyes and ears often helps recall medical recommendations or details you might miss under stress. Professional evaluations might involve memory tests, blood work, or even brain imaging. The goal is not to scare you, but to rule out reversible causes and, if needed, begin an appropriate management plan as soon as possible. In daily life, you can adopt habits that may slow further decline, maintaining a consistent routine, engaging in puzzles or brain games, staying socially active, and focusing on a nutrient-rich diet. Adequate sleep, regular exercise, and stress management also play roles in promoting cognitive health. These changes don't require monumental effort, but can make a significant difference over time. While not a cure for severe forms of dementia, they can build a supportive environment that enhances clarity, mood, and overall resilience. By taking proactive steps, you move from denial or worry into action, which can bring a sense of empowerment even in the face of challenging news. Don't forget that forgetting small details occasionally or needing an extra moment to recall a name can still be part of the normal aging spectrum. The real concern arises when memory issues disrupt your usual way of living, cause you repeated confusion or embarrassment, or show a pattern of escalation over a relatively short period. In those instances, it's not something to brush aside as typical senior moments. Recognizing the difference is the first step to safeguarding your independence, dignity, and emotional peace. Whether you're experiencing these signs or observing them in someone else, remember that early intervention can offer more routes to supportive care and slow down whatever process might be at play. If you've followed this entire discussion and some of it resonates with your experience or a loved one's, consider sharing this information. Knowledge is often the best tool to confront the fear and misconceptions surrounding memory issues. You might help someone else realize that what they're going through isn't normal aging and that it's okay, important even, to reach out for medical advice. Memory is a central part of who we are. Seeing it slip away can feel overwhelming, but ignoring the issue won't protect you. In fact, timely action can lead to interventions that maintain a higher quality of life for much longer than if you simply hope for the best. Ultimately, the line between normal memory changes and concerning cognitive decline can be subtle, but it's there. Look for recurring trouble with daily tasks, disorientation in well-known places, repeated conversations, missing words in your vocabulary, or abrupt personality changes. Keep an eye on your ability to handle multi-step instructions and watch for signs of confusion about time and place that go beyond a momentary lapse. If you're nodding along to these descriptions, now might be the time to book an appointment with a qualified healthcare provider. You don't have to face this journey alone. Whether you're a concerned friend, a supportive family member, or the one noticing these changes in yourself, help and resources exist to guide you through this crucial moment. And remember, an honest conversation with a doctor about your symptoms is often the first step toward either ruling out serious problems or managing them in a way that honors the life you've built and the person you are.